Learn English through story. The forbidden love of desire. In a small town surrounded by vast mountains and thick forests, lived a man named Lucas Moreau. Lucas was the town's carpenter, known for his craftsmanship and steady hands. He was a man of simple needs, and people admired him for his hard work, honesty, and dedication to his craft. Life in the town was quiet and predictable. Everyone had a role, a place, and Lucas's role was to build and mend, whether it was furniture, homes, or tools. Lucas was the one to call. Lucas had always been content with his solitary life. He was a bachelor by choice, preferring his own company and the sound of wood being carved beneath his hands to the complicated affairs of love and relationships. For years, he had watched his friends marry, have children, and build lives together, but Lucas had never felt that pull. That is, until he met Sophia Duval. Sophia was a woman from the city, who had recently moved to the town after inheriting her grandmother's old house. The Duval family was well known, once the wealthiest in the town, but after her grandmother's death, the family had all but disappeared, leaving only the old mansion as a reminder of their presence. Sophia, a woman in her early 30s, had come to the town with plans to renovate the home and start a new life. She was strikingly beautiful, with long dark hair, a graceful figure, and an air of sophistication that seemed out of place in the quiet, rural town. From the moment Lucas saw her, something stirred inside him, a desire he had never known before. It wasn't just her beauty, though that certainly captivated him. It was something deeper, something intangible that drew him to her. She was different from anyone he had ever known, and yet, there was something familiar in the way she carried herself, as if they shared an unspoken connection. He felt it the first time she walked into his workshop, asking for his help with the repairs on her crumbling house. Sophia needed more than just repairs. The house was falling apart, windows were broken, floors creaked underfoot, and the roof leaked when it rained. It was a job that would take months, and Lucas agreed to help her, despite the enormity of the task. As he worked on her home, he found himself spending more and more time with her. She would often sit nearby, watching him as he worked, offering him tea or asking about his life in the town. Their conversations were light at first, but as the days turned into weeks, something began to shift. Lucas couldn't deny the attraction he felt for her. It was an attraction that went beyond the physical, though that was undeniable. There was a connection between them, something unspoken, but powerful. Sophia seemed to feel it too. Her glances lingered longer, her touches became more frequent, a hand on his arm as she passed, her fingers brushing his as she handed him a cup of tea. There was a spark between them, one that neither of them could ignore. But there was a problem. Sophia was engaged. She had mentioned it in passing early on, but as their friendship deepened, it became harder for Lucas to reconcile the feelings growing between them with the reality of her situation. Her fiancé, tilde copyright, Daniel, was a businessman who lived in the city. He visited occasionally, a tall, polished man with expensive suits and an air of arrogance that made Lucas's skin crawl. When Daniel was in town, Sophia seemed distant, as if she were playing a role, and Lucas saw something in her eyes that made him wonder if she truly loved the man she was set to marry. As the weeks passed, Lucas found himself torn between his desire for Sophia and the knowledge that she belonged to someone else. He knew it was wrong to feel this way, to want someone who was already promised to another. But the connection between them was undeniable. and it grew stronger with each passing day. He saw it in the way she looked at him, the way her eyes softened when they spoke, the way she laughed at his jokes in a way that seemed entirely too personal. One evening, as they stood in the fading light of the day, watching the sun set over the mountains, Sophia turned to him, her expression serious. "Lucas," she began, her voice soft, almost hesitant. "I need to tell you something." He looked at her, sensing the weight of her words. "What is it?" She hesitated, looking down at her hands before meeting his gaze. "I don't think I can go through with it." "The wedding, marrying Daniela Broken Bar, it doesn't feel right." Lucas's heart skipped a beat. He had suspected that Sophia wasn't truly happy with her engagement, but hearing her admit it out loud made the forbidden feelings between them suddenly feel more real. He wanted to reach out, to tell her that she didn't have to marry a man she didn't love, but he held back. There was still so much unsaid between them, and he wasn't sure where this conversation would lead. "I don't love him," she continued, her voice breaking slightly. "I thought I did once, but now a broken bar I don't know." Coming here, being away from the city, from everything I've known, it's made me realize that I've been living someone else's life. And I don't want to live that way anymore. Lucas's mind raced. He knew what she was saying, knew what it meant. She was giving him a chance to say something, to confess his feelings. But was it right? Could he allow himself to pursue this forbidden love, knowing that it could hurt her fiancé tilde copyright, and disrupt the life she had been planning? "I think you deserve to be happy," Lucas said finally, choosing his words carefully. "You deserve to be with someone who makes you feel alive, who makes you feel like yourself." Sophia looked at him, her eyes searching his. "Is that what you think?" she asked quietly, stepping closer to him. Lucas could feel his heart pounding in his chest, the tension between them thick in the air. He wanted to tell her everything, that he had fallen for her, that he couldn't stop thinking about her, that he wanted nothing more than to be with her. But he also knew the risks. Pursuing this desire could ruin everything: her engagement, her reputation, and even their own friendship. It was forbidden, and yet, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Before he could respond, Sophia reached up and touched his face, her hand trembling slightly. "Lucas," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I can't stop thinking about you." He closed his eyes, feeling the weight of her words settle over him. It was everything he had wanted to hear, and yet, it filled him with a sense of dread. This was the moment where everything could change. He could either give in to the desire that had been burning inside him for so long, or he could walk away, leaving the flame unkindled. When he opened his eyes, Sophia was standing so close to him that he could feel her breath on his skin. He wanted to kiss her, to pull her into his arms and forget about everything else. But before he could act on his impulse, she stepped back, her expression conflicted. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I shouldn't have said that. I just a broken bar, I don't know what to do." Lucas swallowed hard, fighting to keep his emotions in check. "Sophia, yeah, I need to figure this out," she interrupted, shaking her head. "I need to decide what I want. And I can't do that if me broken bar if we're broken bar." She trailed off, and Lucas nodded, understanding what she meant. The flame that had been burning between them, the forbidden desire that had been growing for weeks, needed to be extinguished for now, at least. She needed time to make her decision, and he needed to respect that. "I'll give you space," Lucas said quietly. "Take the time you need. I'll be here if you need me." Sophia smiled weakly, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Lucas." "Yeah, broken bar, I don't know what I'd do without you." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Lucas standing alone in the fading light, his heart heavy with longing and uncertainty. Days passed, and Lucas tried to focus on his work, but his thoughts were consumed by Sophia. He wondered what she was thinking, whether she had spoken to Daniel, whether she had made a decision. The desire he felt for her hadn't faded. If anything, it had grown stronger, but he knew that he couldn't push her. She needed to choose her own path, and he had to respect that. Then, one afternoon, as Lucas was working on the final repairs to Sophia's house, she appeared at his workshop. She looked different, calmer, more resolved. "I spoke to Daniel," she said, her voice steady. "I told him that I couldn't marry him." Lucas's heart skipped a beat. He waited, unsure of what to say, unsure of what this meant for them. "I realize that I can't live a life that isn't mine," Sophia continued. "I can't marry someone I don't love, someone who doesn't see me for who I am." She took a step closer to him, her eyes locked on his. "I want to live my life for me, and I want you to be a part of that life, Lucas." The words hung in the air, and Lucas felt the weight of them settle over him. The forbidden love they had both fought against was no longer forbidden. Sophia had made her choice, and now, it was up to him to decide whether to let the flame of their desire burn freely. Without hesitation, Lucas reached for her, pulling her into his arms, and this time, there was no hesitation, no doubt, no fear of what was right or wrong. There was only the undeniable truth of their love, a love that had been forbidden but now burned brighter than ever. True love cannot be suppressed, even when it is deemed forbidden. The heart knows its desires, and sometimes, the greatest act of courage is to follow it, no matter the risks. We must be true to ourselves and our passions, even when the world tells us otherwise, for it is only in living authentically that we find real happiness. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.